Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. IRS extends May 17th. Other tax deadlines for victims of Tennessee storms, provides special guidelines for disaster area individuals needing further extensions. IR 2021-112, May 14, 2021, Washington. Victims of this spring's storms and tornadoes in Tennessee will have until August 2nd, 2021 to file various individual and business tax returns and make tax payments, the Internal Revenue Service announced today. Following the recent disaster declaration issued by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, F-E-M-A, there's a link to FEMA here, the IRS is providing this relief to taxpayers affected by storms, tornadoes, and flooding that took place between March 25th and April 3rd, 2021 in parts of Tennessee. Currently, relief is available to affected taxpayers who live or have a business in Campbell, Cheatham, Claiborne, Davidson, Decatur. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of these, so I apologize. There's a link to this. There'll be a link to this in the description so you can pick it up properly. So Fentress, Grainger, Hardeman, Henderson, Hickman, Jackson, Madison, Maury, McNairy, Moore, Overton, Scott, Smith, Wayne, Williamson, and Wilson counties. So again, there'll be a link to this in the description so you can read those yourself, hopefully a bit more legibly than I can pronounce them. So the current list of eligible locations is always available on the disaster relief page on IRS.gov. There's a link to the disaster relief page here. The tax relief postpones various tax filing and payment deadlines that occurred starting on March 25th. As a result, affected individuals and businesses will have until August 2nd to file returns and pay any taxes they were originally due during this period. This includes 2020 individual income tax returns due on May 17th, as well as various 2020 business returns normally due on April 15th. Among other things, this also means that affected taxpayers will have until August 2nd to make 2020 IRA contributions. So that's nice. They pushed out the IRA contribution as well, because you kind of need to be able to do that with the tax return sometimes to make sure that you're maximizing out the IRA and whatnot. So in any case, the August 2nd deadline also applies to quarterly estimated income tax payments due on April 15th and June 15th, and quarterly payroll and excise tax returns normally due on April 30th. It also applies to tax-exempt organizations operating on a calendar year basis that have a 2020 return due on May 17th. In addition, penalties on payroll and excise tax deposits due on or after March 25th and before April 9th will be abated as long as the deposits were made by April 9th. The IRS disaster relief page, there's a link to that disaster relief page here, has details on other returns, payment, and tax-related actions qualifying for the additional time. The IRS automatically provides filing and penalty relief on any taxpayer with an IRS address of record located in the disaster area. Therefore, taxpayers do not need to contact the agency to get this relief. However, if an affected taxpayer receives a late filing or late payment penalty notice from the IRS that has an original or extended filing, payment, or deposit due date falling within the postponement period, the taxpayer should call the number on the notice to have the penalty abated. In addition, the IRS will work with any taxpayer who lives outside the disaster area, but whose records necessary to meet a deadline occurring during the postponement period are located in the affected area. Taxpayers qualifying for relief who live outside the disaster area need to contact the IRS at 866-562-5227. So if you're in the disaster area, you would think they would have your address, be able to take care of that automatically. Hopefully you don't have to do any action on your end to get the additional, assistance in terms of the dates and whatnot. However, if you're outside the disaster area, then of course your address on their records would not be in it. But if you are affected by it, by having records that were in the disaster area, then you'd have to call the IRS and let the IRS know about that circumstances in order to get access possibly to the extensions. So this also includes workers assisting the relief activities who are affiliated with a recognized government or philanthropic organization. Individuals and businesses in a federally declared disaster area who suffered uninsured or unreimbursed disaster-related losses can choose to claim them on either the return for the year the loss occurred, in this instance the 2021 return normally filed next year, or the return for the prior year. This means that taxpayers can, if they choose, claim these losses on the 2020 return they are filling out this tax season. So they could do it on the 2020 if they want. So be sure to write the FEMA declaration number. That's the FEMA declaration number, which is 4601DR, on any return claiming a loss. See publication 547 for details. There's a link to that publication here. The tax relief is part of a coordinated federal response to the damage caused by these storms, and it's based on local damage assessments by FEMA. For information on disaster recovery, visit the disasterassistance.gov. There's a link to that here. Besides Tennessee, taxpayers in part or all 5 other states also have more time to file and pay. Individuals and businesses in Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana have until June 15th to file and pay. All taxpayers in these 3 states qualify for relief. Individuals and businesses in parts of Kentucky have until June 30th to file and pay. Individuals and businesses in parts of Alabama have until August 2nd to file and pay. Disaster area individuals who need more time to file beyond these postponed deadlines can get it by submitting a request for an automatic extension. There's a link to that request here. This will extend their filing deadline until October 15, 2021. The IRS emphasizes that this additional extension is not an extension of time to pay. So then you can do the extension, but that doesn't, of course, apply to the payment. You always want to keep the payment obligation separate from the filing obligation when you're thinking about the penalties and interest related to them. An easy way to get the extra time is through free file on IRS.gov. There's a link to that free file here. In a matter of minutes, anyone regardless of income can use this free service to electronically request an extension on Form 4868. There's a link to 4868 form here. To get the extension, taxpayers must estimate their tax liability on this form. Another option is to pay electronically and get a tax filing extension. The IRS will automatically process an extension when a taxpayer selects Form 4868 and makes a full or partial federal tax payment by May 17th due date using direct pay, the electronic federal payment system, EFTPS, or the debit or credit card. There's links to those payment options here. So in other words, if you owe tax and you make a payment for that tax on these electronic payment type of systems, you will then assign it to the Form 1040, making sure that you do so that the IRS knows where that money should be applied to with regards to the taxes. When doing so, that should take care of the extension and payment at that point. If they owe you money, then you're not going to make a payment because they're going to owe you money. But if you still want to go on extension, then you'd have to file the Form 4868 generally, and you might be able to do that with the free file software, or you could find the form on the IRS website if you'd like to look at it that way as well. So note that registration is required before using EFTPS. To learn more about each of these electronic payment options, visit IRS.gov/payments. There's a link to that here. The IRS emphasizes that May 17th is the last day to request an extension using any of these electronic options. After May 17th, disaster area taxpayers who need more time to file must make that request on paper. To do that, file Form 4868 available on IRS.gov. So that's kind of an interesting note here. So, if you're going on extension and you want to do it by just making a payment of the tax that you owe, they still want it by May 17th. If you're going past that date because you have an added time period due to the fact that you're in one of these areas, and then you want to file an extension after that, it looks like your options are more limited, and you have to actually file the Form 4868 and possibly by paper, which is kind of strange. I'm not sure exactly why you need to do it by paper, but not difficult to do. You could do it that way and find Form 4868 on the IRS website. So for more information about extensions, visit IRS.gov/extension. There's a link to that here. There'll be a link to this in the description.